Welcome back to the Mountain Morning Show, and I'm joined by Brian Murphy from Utah Luxury Tours. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Thank you for having me on your show this morning.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. We're really excited to have you here because what a unique product. I've been looking at your website, and I'm amazed at where you've found a real niche in tours. So tell us a little bit about it, where it comes from, and what are some of the goals of the company.
Okay. Well, it all started after moving from the East Coast out to Utah and taking a position here in Deer Valley as a ski instructor. That's when I first became exposed to the solid tourism industry here.
Yeah.
And so I saw it from the winter perspective, and then in the summertime, I ended up taking a position in Moab at Sorrel River Ranch.
What an incredible place that is.
Well, during the first winter, everyone was talking about Moab and how they do Moab in the summer. They go to Moab and do this and that. And so I was fortunate to go from one employment opportunity to another in 2 different seasons, complementing the tourism in Utah. And that's when I found that it was so strong. And right about 2010, when Forbes announced that Utah was the best state for starting a new business in, then the wheels started turning. And then so while I was working at Sorrel River, guests would come up and they would want to do a tour. And as I looked around in Moab to try to help them find a tour, most of the outfitters there are more interested in the rocks, the dirt, the trails, and the adrenaline activity.
Right.
But there is a population that wants to go see the scenic viewpoints, take pictures, and then move on to the next park.
Right. A little taking it easy, as it were.
Right. Front country, taking a look at the parks. And so when I started doing half-day tours, they turned into full-day tours. And that's when I was running a company called Moab Luxury Coach, which is basically transportation.
Right.
And so as the tour business started to pick up from one-day to multi-day tours, it was necessary to come up with a new brand name. And so that's how Utah Luxury Tours came into existence.
See, I think a guy who starts out as a ski instructor here is a concierge and understands that perspective too. You're well fitted to really understand what people are looking for, because I think that's living here, sometimes difficult to tell what other people when they come here really are expecting or wanting. That's something that you have a unique perspective on, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I learned, just like a lot of people do, that you have to go down to the parks and you have to look at them, and each one of them, to notice and appreciate just how magnificent they are. And what shocked me, like many guests, is how different they are in such a close proximity to each other. You would think, well, one park's got to look like another, and then that simply isn't true. And so we're very fortunate to have 5 beautiful, different national parks in Utah. And so it kind of sells itself, but it's not easy to get around. And we're the only company in Utah that specializes in Utah tours from one end to another, from top to bottom. But most of our clientele actually come from out of the state who are visiting Utah. And
all right, make a tough choice. Which one's your favorite?
Arches National Park.
Okay, why do you like Arches so much?
It's just amazing how arches can be formed. And it's easy to understand how they got formed.
Yeah,
and
it's still hard to believe that they're there.
Yeah. And there are so many other things about geography and geology that may be difficult for John Q. Public to understand, but arches are simple to understand, and they're pretty amazing. And there's so many of them.
All right, so you talked about being able to go to the Big 5. How does that work for you guys? What kind of tours are offered? As I understand it, there's some set tours, but really what this is mostly about is being completely flexible to the customer and doing a tour that fits them specifically. But explain more.
Well, when a guest comes from overseas, India or in Asia or even in the country in New York, they already have had some exposure to certain places that they want to see.
Sure.
Whether it's in Condé Nast magazine or if it was a National Geographic magazine.
Right.
And so they'll contact us by email or phone and tell us what they want to see. And so we can start the tour in any destination, location from Las Vegas up to Salt Lake City at any time that's convenient for them. So we don't have package A, B, or C. And so we're very flexible, and we try to do our tours a little differently. Instead of going from park to hotel, we put our guests in 4- and 5-star resorts, and then we have them go out to the parks and then come back home.
So they're centrally located, they're actually experiencing the place they're in.
Right, and so they can come back and enjoy their accommodations for 2 or 3 days in a row. That changes the transportation part. That requires some helicopter support or small aircraft support.
That's cool.
It's way cool because it adds a whole different perspective to touring the Big 5, which is what we call it, and we've been calling it the Big 5 for about 4 years now. And by doing that, it has a whole new perspective, and the clientele really, really enjoy that.
Well, yeah, can you imagine? I think getting up in the morning and knowing that there's going to be a helicopter coming to pick you up in a couple of minutes to take you to somewhere incredible, that's got to be, man, I want to do that. That sounds like an excellent way to see these places.
Well, and the helicopter rides are really interesting because it's not just a little whirly-bird.
Right.
These are executive helicopters.
Eurostar, stuff like that.
Absolutely, it's exactly the type of aircraft, yes.
Oh, those are nice. That's in fact, I think the Eurostar is the one that is one of the few that actually made it as high as the top of Mount Everest. It's an incredible copter. Wow,
well, that's good
I'm
to know.
jealous. I want to do this. This sounds great.
I didn't know that.
Well, tell me a little bit about some of the other kind of niche things too. You guys really handle people, even if you're up here in Park City, and I know this happens. People check into their hotel, and they come to the concierge, and they're like, all right, we want to go to Zion. And you're like, you say to them, well, yeah, that's 6 hours away. So you're going down there for a couple days? No, we were just going for the day.
Yep.
You guys actually can make it happen with some of these parks, get them in one day.
Yes. It's amazing how many times that happens, either from the Salt Lake City Convention Center or any of the hotels here in Park City. A guest will walk up just like you described, and when the concierges know about our service, we can pick up people in Park City, take them down to Moab. We'll pick them up at 6 in the morning. It's very early. It's a long day, but the guests find it's well worth it once they see the landscape and the attractions. So we'll visit Canyonlands for a short period of time, Dead Horse Point State Park, Arches National Park. We'll do a tour along the Colorado River, and we'll generally take them to lunch at some location on the river so they can have a chance to relax, enjoy the canyons on the Arches National Park, and they love it.
Yeah, and then get them back here at home, get back in a little late, 10 o'clock, that's not bad.
They're usually sleeping in the car by the time we get past Green River, but that's fine.
Sleeping in your car is a little more comfortable than sleeping in my car, though.
Oh,
you guys have some pretty awesome luxury coaches and cars. Tell us a little bit about that, because you're kind of, I don't know, it's easy to identify you in Park City with the red vehicles.
When I first moved to Deer Valley in Park City, I joined one of the local transportation companies, and I just happened to pick a red SUV. Don't know why, but it turned out to be, it was meant to be.
It's because you're a Red Sox fan, I bet. No?
I think they're great. I've been collecting baseball cards all my life, so I appreciate the Red Sox and their history, so they're awesome. And so one car has led to another, so I now have 4 SUVs, and I have Mercedes sedans, and so those are the vehicles that we travel in, and it makes for a very easy ride.
Wow, it sounds pretty neat. I mean, when you talk about easy rides between helicopters and nice luxury SUVs, pretty awesome way to get around. Tell me about some, because I'll be honest, I kind of checked the website a little bit, and what I thought was fascinating was listening to what some of your customers had said. Tell me what your experience has been with some of the folks that have come here and had the experience in Utah the way you guys deliver it.
Well, the story that I like to express is that there are some international travel companies, and there are some clients who have been around the world. They've seen Beijing, Red Square, Tiananmen Square,
wow,
and they've been to the Gobi, or they've been to deserts in other parts of the world. And when we bring them into southern Utah for the first time, they may be a little skeptical, but they're doing the tours because it's in their backyard. They've not seen the national parks here. And I would tell them, wait till you see all the different national parks here and what they look like. You'll be very surprised. And sure enough, they'll put them at the very top of, we didn't know they were so beautiful right here in our backyard.
Right.
And these are from folks that have been all around the world.
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about somebody who's local. And so when they can compare it to what the world has to provide, Moab, Zion, Bryce, Arches, Canyonlands, very unique.
Now, you're a transplant, but you've clearly become a citizen at this point here in Park City. But I guess the last thought, we have just a moment or two left, is that when you're thinking about what someone who is planning this trip, and sometimes it is a once-in-a-lifetime kind of trip, maybe a couple of times, but they're typically getting a little bit older, and this is something they've been planning on their whole lives. They're coming from Germany or wherever. What is it like to fulfill that dream and to have them see things the way you do now as a local?
It's satisfying every time, especially going into the parks to enjoy the landscape and watching their reaction.
Yeah.
But we also get a lot of satisfaction sharing the knowledge and teaching them and giving them the experience firsthand. It's a small group, It's 2, 3, 4, 5 people at the most.
Right.
It's private, and so there's a lot of one-on-one. So it's not like a big group of 60 people and having one narrator in the front of the group. So it's
Right.
a whole different perspective.
But your person that's driving, that is a tour guide who knows all of these details, these same things that you wish to impart about how wonderful this place is.
Exactly. We have full-time residents in Moab that are guides, and 3 of our guides who were also instructors at Deer Valley moved down to Moab for the last 4 years with me, and we learned the business. We learned about luxury tours, we learned about the national parks, and I send the guys out to the national parks even when we don't have tours,
Right.
to go learn more about the parks. So we're definitely knowledgeable, we're qualified, we know what the parks are all about.
If somebody wants to plan a trip, what do they need to do?
Go online, look up Utah Luxury Tours, or call us directly, and that number is 435-940-4212, or the website Utah Luxury Tours.
Awesome. Brian Murphy, Utah Luxury Tours. Thanks so
pleasure.
much. It sounds like great stuff, and I've got to get on one of those. They're awesome.
Thank you.
All right, well, there is more coming up right here in the Mountain Morning Show. We're going to be coming back with, I'm sure, one of Chelsea's Check It Out videos and more. It's all right here on the Mountain Morning Show after this.